Folks, welcome to an all-new episode of So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Monday episode. How are you guys doing? Now listen, right off the bat, I gotta tell you, if you didn't pay attention to your podcasting feed this weekend, I was on it a lot. I released a lot of episodes because there's a lot of things happening right now. We did a Traders recap with Karsten Bergeson. Bergie is back recapping the Traders. We did episodes 1 through 3. That came out on Sunday. Also, baby mama Rebecca came on to recap this week's Southern Charm, and we talked about a bunch of other things. And then also we did a 2-part, a supersized episode. I call this an evergreen episode because I think you can listen to it at any time. There's no spoilers for the Traders in it, but it goes through each of the cast members of this season of The Traders. And there were a lot of people that I weren't familiar with. So the Bravo investigator, Dana Reagan, she's amazing. Go follow her at the Bravo investigator. We walked through every contestant. So if my voice sounds a little froggy, that's it was a lot of talking this weekend. But man, it was so fun. There was so much good stuff to talk about. That's a great problem to have. So if you need something extra to listen to this week, man, it is all there from this weekend. Catch up whenever you want to. I hope you have as much fun listening to it as I had fun doing those. Now, today, we have Sophie Ross. There's a timestamp if you want to skip right to that. But we're going to talk about a couple of other things in the meantime. If you appreciate this show, if you appreciate the hard work that goes into it, even though I'm having a good time, consider leaving it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to go further, join our Patreon, patreon.com/SoBadIt'sGood. I have to rest my voice after this, so I will be doing the Roni recap tomorrow morning, so that should be up mid-afternoon. But we had a great interview with Samaj about Cake Eater, Carl Radke's book, and talked about a couple of other things. And I early released the Southern Charm episode on there, and I think I might start doing that a little bit more often to make things a little easier and to give the Patreon a little something extra. Okay, let's talk Golden Globes. I just watched a 3-hour and 18-minute Golden Globe award ceremony, and there was a lot to like. There was a lot to kind of scratch your head at. I thought Nikki Glaser did great. It was her second time hosting. I thought she did really, really, really good. I like her. I think she's very funny. That is such a tough room, and she did so amazing last year. I think she did really, really good this year. I think someday she will host the Oscars. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. Conan O'Brien will be hosting for the second year in a row this year, and he was so good last year. I mean, I think Conan will be doing it for as long as he wants to do it, but I think Nikki Glaser has really made it known that she will be hosting the Oscars one day, which I think I look forward to that day. And I think she's just going to keep getting better and better. And it's a tough room, man. It's a tough room. You're not just dealing with movies. You're dealing with TV. You're dealing with the world. You're on CBS. They aired on CBS. And CBS, if you haven't been following the news, has had a lot of weird decisions as of late with their newsroom and their editing and stuff. So you're dealing with that. You're dealing with the fact that in this day and age, sometimes, even though I find escapism fascinating and artistic, there are so many real things going on in the world that, you know, obviously we're trying to escape from, but you're on a network. It's a lot. It's a lot. So you're going into a very charged room, a charged experience. And I think now, since we live with phones 24/7, you're trying to set a standard. You're trying to set yourself apart from TikTok. You're trying to set yourself apart. You're trying to get people excited about the movies. That's why I talked with Sophie before the Golden Globes came on, and I thought, man, I'm almost more excited about the TV element of it. I was more excited about seeing the two actors from Heated Rivalry, Connor Story and Hudson Williams, which, by the way, they presented, and I think it was fun to see them. I don't know if their little bit that they did completely landed. I thought it was great. This Hudson Williams, this guy's like a mystery to me. I can't get a beat on him, and I think that's great. That's amazing. It's a great quality to have as an actor. And Connor Story, man, just to think of the character he plays and how he actually seems to be in real life, was just an all-around good guy. That guy's a fantastic actor. You could tell the people in the room. I was online. I did a lot of threads. I don't do Twitter anymore, so I do threads. And I was threading throughout the night. And the vibe on threads was that the audience in the room at the Golden Globes did not appreciate Heated Rivalry when they came on stage, didn't give that show enough love. But, like, listen, those people in the room, they're all concerned with themselves. I don't think I would imagine three-fourths of the people in that room have not watched Heated Rivalry yet. That is what is important to a lot of us. I don't think Steven Spielberg's seen Heated Rivalry yet. And also, we're still, what has it been? It's not even been out for it's like a 5 weeks. You gotta give even Hollywood a chance to catch up to Hollywood. So, I don't think it's the fault of that audience. They're still trying to make their way through Hamnet and Frankenstein and all of the films that they had to watch to vote on. But I thought it was perfect. I thought it was great that everybody out here, we were excited to see them. And just once again, how cool it is for those actors. They are on a world stage right now, and that is a big moment, and they seem to be handling it pretty great so far. So I think it's all positivity, and it's going to be really exciting to see. I would imagine the next month, one of them is going to sign on to a big film. I don't know if it'll be a Marvel film. I don't know if it'll be a Tom Cruise film, but one of Nikki Glaser, like I said, her monologue was great. She did a DiCaprio joke about everything that he's done in his career, and I think the joke was, and you did it all before your girlfriend even turned 30, which was so funny. But I just think it was great. It's like DiCaprio has to show up to all of these things, not because he has to, but because he wants to promote these films that he believes in, right? He really wants Paul Thomas Anderson to get his Best Picture Oscar and potentially get his Best Director Oscar. And of course, he wants an Oscar too, but he has one for Revenant. And, I'm sure he would love another one. And the dude is just he's a consummate actor. He's doing amazing work. But, I love that he has to show up to these things and he just knows the joke on him is always going to be about his young girlfriend or whichever young girlfriend he has at the time. But then the second joke Nikki Glaser did was like, hey, I'm so sorry about that joke. That was a cheap shot. But like, dude, we don't know anything else about you. Like, we don't know, like, you got to let us know more about you, dude. And I think we talked about this last week with Sophie, because I was saying, DiCaprio, that is really the only thing you know about him, is that he likes girls potentially under 25. That's it. I don't know anything else about that dude. And I love that. I think that helps with being able to disappear into characters. Like, I don't know if he's nice. I don't know if he's a dick. I don't know any of those things. And that's kind of weirdly refreshing. And then if you unfairly compare him to Chalamet, you're like, that's why I get worried about the Kylie Jenner, because we know so much about the Jenner and the Kardashians. So then you're like, oh, Timothy, so that's your vibe. Like, and I know that's unfair, but that's why I think it's so interesting that DiCaprio has not let us know anything. He's not done, and when he talks, he's talking about the work. So I thought that was such a great follow-up joke from Nikki Glaser, but I found it very interesting. Some quick thoughts. I could watch reaction shots of Martin Short and Steve Martin all night long. I just love seeing those two. I love seeing them smile. I don't even need to see them talk. I just love them. I love them so, so much. Timothy Chalamet won for Best Actor for a comedy or musical. They split those categories. It's Best Drama and Best Comedy Musical. It's very weird. So Timothy Chalamet won. He beat DiCaprio. He thanked Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, who is in Marty Supreme. He thanked him, and he did thank Kylie, but he kind of lumped her in with his family. The bigger thank you was to Kevin O'Leary, which was actually pretty funny. So Kylie Jenner having one of the best award seasons so far. Now, a big surprise for Best Supporting Actress in a comedy or musical. I thought Ariana Grande might take this, but Teyana Taylor from One Battle After Another, which you can stream on HBO Max, she took it, and she gave a beautiful speech. I was not expecting that. I don't think she was expecting that. I don't think the room was expecting that. And that was kind of the start. And so really, I thought, oh, this is going to be an exciting night. It didn't necessarily turn out to be a fully exciting night, but man, that was amazing. And then if anybody thought One Battle After Another at that point was going to sweep the awards or their categories, that was not to happen, because then Best Supporting Actor went to Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value and beat Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro. Maybe they split the vote because, maybe they split the One Battle After Another vote. But Stellan Skarsgård got that. I haven't got to see that yet. I think I get a screener this week, so I'm very excited to check that out. The Pit won a lot of awards, or it felt like it did, and I just, I just love Severance. Severance is my show, but it seems like The Pit has won a lot over Severance, which bums me out, but it's great. And then obviously remember, this is the first award where they gave out Best Podcast, right? Best Podcast, which was just weird, but cool, I guess, right? Like, that's neat. They're celebrating podcasts. So how are they going to do this thing? How are they going to celebrate it? And it was so funny. They had all three of the hosts of Smartless, who are all movie and TV stars. Like, that's okay, this is my bit about the podcast. And it's not a bit. This is how I feel. You know how much I love podcasting. If you're listening to this podcast, it means you probably listen to more podcasts. It means you know what podcasts are. We're still fighting this weirdly uphill battle about getting some kind of respect on the name of podcast, which is so weird, right? And I know I'm not talking to you guys, but it is funny. And I felt like it was almost treated like a redheaded stepchild tonight, almost like it felt jokey in a sense. And it's the first one, so there is a little bit of a bumpiness in entering a new category, especially of this one, because just like Heated Rivalry, I don't think a lot of people in that room listen to podcasts. That's something that the producers of this show are trying to be more relevant, trying to be more youthful, trying to get a younger audience. So they know younger audience likes podcasts, so we're going to put in a podcasting category. Now, the podcasting nominees, does this represent podcasting as a whole? I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that these all are podcasts that are nominated, right? And these are all good podcasts. These aren't shitty podcasts. These are super successful podcasts. But are they podcasts like you're listening to now? Are they podcasts that are editing their own podcasts? They're like just busting their ass to get something done. No, these are really highly successful people. You got Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, Call Her Daddy, Good Hang with Amy Poehler, the Mel Robbins podcast, Smartless with the two movie stars and a TV star, and NPR's Up First. Now, I listen to Up First, I've listened to episodes of Smartless, and I listen regularly to Good Hang with Amy Poehler. And as I tell Sophie, that's who I wanted to win, and I'm glad that Amy Poehler won it. She's a great representation of everything I would love to be as a podcaster. I mean, we're all our unique little snowflakes, but she just makes me feel good. And so, my God, I was so happy that she won. But it is so funny. It's like, oh my God, I have to become a successful movie or TV star to someday have a successful podcast. This isn't about me or any of my podcasting compatriots, but it really is about younger people, I would imagine. Or what I want it to be is about younger people. When I watched this show when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor really bad. And it was inspiring, but it was also like, how do I do this, And I think with podcasting, the magic of it is that it's accessible to all of us. And not just white straight dudes, all of us. In fact, I think it has it's given a voice, rightfully so, to more females, to different ethnicities, to so many different voices that are able to be celebrated in podcasting. If I was a kid now watching this, I would say, oh, I can make a podcast tomorrow. I don't have to, hopefully, I don't have to maybe have a lucky break. I could make a podcast tomorrow. But sometimes when you see just all of these like just superstar heavy hitters, it makes it like, oh, damn, how do I get there? When it's like, tell your kids, you guys, if your kids want to get into podcasting, they can. They can do it today. They don't need to be Jason Bateman, Will Arnett. They don't need to be and by the way, they're all so talented. They've had whole movie and TV careers before this. I mean, they're all great. I'm not bagging on any of them. But what I love about podcasting was that it's accessible to all. And we want to try to keep it that way. And I get it. There'll never be a time where a podcast like mine or I don't think there'll ever come a time where they'll be nominated in that kind of big forum. I mean, that would be weird because you would have to explain to so many people what the F this is, right? When you don't have to explain, it's like some people might not know what the podcast is, but they know who Amy Poehler is. You know what NPR is. And so that's a way, it's advertising. It's all advertising. So I thought that was a little weird. I also thought it was weird that Snoop Dogg was the person that they chose to present this award. Snoop Dogg? Oh, yeah. He's always been on record as being a huge podcast fan. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg will show up to an opening of an envelope, it feels like. And it felt like there was a couple of jokes. There was a very funny bit that Nikki Glaser filmed, which was like an AMC ad where the AMC was closed. And it's like, podcasts. That's what we have. Or so what was it was like a funny podcast. I guess that's what's next or something like that. It was funny. You probably saw it. It was very funny. But then the bit was about all of the ads within the podcasts. And, and that is a very funny joke, a Bombas ad. They should have done a BetterHelp ad or a Quince ad. My friends at Quince. But for podcasters like me, that's what keeps all this going, I don't know. So, but I was thrilled that Amy won it. I thought she made such a funny speech. I thought it was great. I don't think any of those podcasts represent me, but my God, I can really appreciate the hell out of those guys. And there's a lot of work, even if you have a team of people, there's still a lot of work that goes into that. So I guess any visibility is good visibility. I just hope if they continue with this category, they find different ways to put just a little bit more respect on it. But that's hard. That's hard in an award show. So I guess I'm happy that it's there. I'm just curious where it goes in the future because these are a lot of the big names. So are you just going to keep nominating the same people? Are you going to give other people a chance? Like, how does that work from this point on? So that was my thought in regards to the podcasting. Now, there were a couple of other weird things that I really disliked. Hate to be a negative Nancy here. Was they had these announcers. I think it was Kevin Fraser from Entertainment Tonight, who that dude's awesome. And then this guy, Mark Malkin, I think he works for Variety. And I don't know whose idea it was, but they were like giving factoids while like the person was like coming up to accept the award. And then they were like, well, Rhea Seehorn, this is her first nomination for Best Actress and she won. And we were talking to her and she's a big fan of Kylie Jenner and she really appreciates Kylie's work and she's hoping to meet Kylie Jenner. So Rhea Seehorn. And it was so weird. And I don't, if you have factoids, just put them in writing. I'll read them on the screen. I don't know what, and that doesn't feel like it's reaching out to a youthful audience because those two dudes seem around my age. So I don't know what that was. It was highly annoying and it got more annoying as the night went on. And then there were like weird moments where they had that narration and they didn't even put music behind it like they were in the other moments. So it even stood out more. And then all of a sudden UFC fighters came on and they were like, UFC. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then all of a sudden the heated rivalry bit started and I thought I was having a stroke. I was like, oh, I'm not well right now. It turns out UFC is now, their new home is on Paramount Plus, which owns CBS. So that's why they did the UFC bit. But I thought it was so fucking weird. Also, the other weird thing that they kept doing Polymarket, in Polymarket, they say that Good Hang with Amy Poehler, 63% of people think that that Good Hang with Amy Poehler is going to win tonight. Now, Polymarket is the world's largest prediction market. I thought this was so horrible. Like, if you go to polymarket.com, and I hate to even advertise this shit, because it's like, hey, teach your kids how to bet. Like, this is what's on the front page of Polymarket. Will Trump acquire Greenland before 2027? Will the Iranian regime fall before 2027? Jerome Powell out as Fed chair? So they have these things that you can bet on, and they had Golden Globes. And then I don't know how much money Polymarket gave CBS, but boo, this is bullshit. I thought this whole thing was so cringy and so gross. Do not, and also, like, you don't want to have conversations with your kids, even if are kids even watching this, where it's like, Mom and Dad, what's Polymarket? That is so, I don't know, just keep that shit to like UFC bets or I guess Trump bets. I don't know. What a weird thing that was to be a part of that. Having said that, it was a big night for my favorite film, one battle after another. Paul Thomas Anderson got it for Best Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Comedy or Musical, which I was so excited. Now, listen, I think I talked about this last week, about Sinners and One Battle After Another, because I have not seen a lot of these other films that'll be up for Oscars. I should have gotten the screeners this weekend, so hopefully this week, and I'll be able to finish all of the nominated films that I think are going to be for the Oscars. But Sinners and One Battle After Another are the two that have stood out in my head as just the two experiences I had in movie theaters that I loved. Now, Sinners, I made a lot of money. It made a lot of money. Ryan Coogler, one of the best directors out there, and is going to continue to be. That dude has a lot of Academy Awards in his future. I'm not saying Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't, but Paul Thomas Anderson is much older than Ryan Coogler, and I've been following that dude since Boogie Nights, like I've said many, many times on this show. I thought this was a incredible film. I hope this film grows in popularity or understanding as the years go on. Sinners, I also think, is an all-time classic. And Ryan Coogler, these films were both made by Warner Brothers. They were both produced by Warner Brothers, which is really sad because Warner Brothers, pretty much just sold to Netflix, but this is not the podcast for that. But Ryan Coogler made a really interesting deal when he sold Sinners to Warner Brothers. So he took less money as an upfront payment. He fought to get this movie made, an original film based on his script. How many people are making original films? That's why we have to celebrate people like Paul Thomas Anderson and people like Ryan Coogler. There is room for as many original ideas as people can throw at Hollywood. Please, we need more original films. We need less sequels. We need less. Anyways, Ryan Coogler made a brilliant deal. So he did this deal with Warner Brothers that grants him full ownership of this movie's intellectual property in 25 years. So Warner Brothers, they own like Batman for the rest of their lives. But Ryan Coogler said, Warner Brothers, you can own this film for 25 years. That means you can sell it to Max, you can sell it to whoever you want to. But after 25 years, those rights revert back to Ryan Coogler. And what a film to do that on, because this film is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. He also got a rare first dollar gross participation and final cut rights. So he earned from those ticket sales immediately. First dollar gross participation. So Tarantino has deals like this as well, but it gives him long-term financial control. And I think that is brilliant of Ryan Coogler. But I think a lot of people were pissed that Sinners didn't. They won like a box office achievement award, which is another new award that they did because you want to be able to honor films like Sinners. I still think Sinners has a good chance of getting some Oscars. But it'll be interesting because One Battle After Another, it seems like the wave is headed their way or going in their direction. But yeah, so I think Ryan Coogler is brilliant, and his next film, he's taking on the X-Files. That's crazy. And it's going to be based on his idea for the X-Files. So a Ryan Coogler X-Files film, I'm very, very interested in that. Hamnet won for Best Film as well. And Jessie Buckley, the lead of that, she won Best Actress. So those were great moments, but there was just a lot of weird moments. And for me, as all award shows do, they kind of drag as it goes on, and you find yourself looking for little moments. Like there was like this one, Selena Gomez and her husband, Benny Blanco. There was this one reaction shot of them that I just couldn't. I cracked up. It looked like Benny Blanco was so high. Macaulay Culkin came out. There was like also a weird. It was a great DJ, but it was like weird. Like they played Return of the Mac when Macaulay Culkin came out. I thought that was great. Seth Rogen and The Studio won a lot. The Netflix limited series Adolescence won a lot. Those were all great moments. I don't know if I found it magical, a night of magic, but it was it was enjoyable. And I thought Nikki Glaser ended it great. She said something to the effect of that she hoped this night went to 11. And that is a throwback quote from the movie Spinal Tap, which was directed by Rob Reiner. And she had a Spinal Tap hat on. And I thought that was a beautiful silent tribute to somebody that we lost last December that meant the world to Hollywood. I thought that was a beautiful little moment. So that was the Golden Globes. What did you think? Sorry if I shit on it too much. There was a lot of good things, and I did watch every minute. It just, at moments, as all award shows do, it dragged. Oh, also, I thought Wanda Sykes was pretty funny. She gave out the award for Best Comedy Special, and it went to Ricky Gervais, who was not there. And so she said, "I will be accepting this for Ricky Gervais, and I'd like to thank God and the trans community." Ricky Gervais is a famous atheist. I don't know if you can have a famous atheist, but he is a famous atheist, and he said some very not good things about the trans community. So I thought that was a brilliant move by Wanda Sykes. I thought that was so funny. She also told Bill Maher, she was like, what did she say? She was like, "Bill Maher, you give us so much. Sometimes I wish you would give us less." I thought that was a great little moment too. Okay. And yeah, here's the segment I didn't want to do, that I wasn't wanting to do, that I wasn't planning on doing, that I was hoping that I would um, never have to talk about, is that Bob Weir, one of the founding members of the Grateful Dead, passed away this weekend at the age of 78. He died on January 10th. Saturday, I was on a long walk trying to get my steps in, and I got an alert from the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail, of all places, found out about Bob Weir's death from the Daily Mail. And Bob Weir and the Grateful Dead and Dead and Company means a great deal to me and to my wife, Rebecca. And a lot of you guys, I don't know what your familiarity with Grateful Dead is, or Dead and Company, or any of music. I want to say, I've said many times, I grew up, I used to make fun of jam bands. I made fun of that kind of music. I don't know why. It's a really good lesson to me, is that don't make fun of things before you understand things. Or it's hard, it's like, I don't know. But that music turned out to mean a great deal to me. And especially as I get older, it means more and more to me. And I was so lucky in a short amount of time to be able to see Dead and Company, which unfortunately, obviously not the Grateful Dead. I never got to see the Grateful Dead. I never got to see Jerry Garcia play. I've just seen so many videos, and thank God that's when you love things like YouTube and TikTok, because you can punch the Grateful Dead's name in and you can see thousands of hours of videos, and you have a tapers community that has every show. You could listen to every show. And what I loved about the Grateful Dead and Dead and Company and no show was ever the same. In fact, I watched a great interview with them on Letterman from like 1982 this weekend with Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir. And it was just like, yeah, we don't care if our records sell. We're like, it's like, come see our live music. No show is the same. No show is the same. It's always going to be different. And I saw him, I think, about 10 times, and it was always different. It was always different. And that was so beautiful. So beautiful. His family announced on his Instagram account that he transitioned peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. Unbeknownst to most of us, he had been diagnosed with cancer in July of this past year. And his family made it seem like he battled it very courageously, even performing during that time. And ultimately, he succumbed not to the cancer itself. His family said he beat the cancer, but to underlying lung issues connected to the cancer. His last live performances took place in August of 2025 at a 3-night concert in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, celebrating 60 years of the Grateful Dead's music. We watched a lot of those shows, and we were talking about going to those shows, and we talked about going to those shows, and we couldn't do it. Yeah, it was like a little financially, but also there was this thing where we were like, we'll see him at the Sphere again. It's never over. There's always one more show. Even how many times Dead and Company said they weren't going to be doing anymore, they would always do something more. So I really didn't think anything of it. And I know this man was 78 years old, but I just thought it would be forever. And, but we watched a lot of it on streaming, which, obviously is not the same. But he still did those shows. And yes, a lot of people during those shows said, oh man, he's not looking good. He's not sounding good. But then on this Sunday show, he really seemed to, and Trey from Fish was there that night too, I believe. And he really seemed to kind of come alive, But I didn't think anything of it, right? Because people people love to shit on Dead and Company or love to shit on, it's like, "Oh, it's not the same. Ever since Jerry died, it's not the same." No, it's like because Jerry's Jerry, right? But I thought always there'd be another time, so I didn't sweat it that much. But Bob Weir, um, wasn't just a founding member of Dead and Company. He helped shape American music and obviously the psychedelic rock scene, but also so much more, folk music, Americana, everything. And it the music always goes on, and that's the thing, is the music lives on. And I know people will keep sharing his music, and I know people will keep sharing his music to people like me, people that maybe one time made fun of it and then later in life really needed that kind of music in his life. Um, and that it means so much to me now. So much to me. And it's one of the yeah. I remember the first time I saw the Dead and Company. Um, Bob Weir, he was always considered the good-looking one. I've read so many books about the Grateful Dead in the past couple of years. Read 2 fantastic books about them this past year. But he was considered the good-looking one. He was like the kid of the band. And then by the time I got to see him, he was like the old man. He had this big white beard. And I remember seeing him for the first time, and it was like, whoa, he was singing with such gravitas. This growl, this snarl. And you just tell this man had lived a life. And there are certain people in music where you don't even realize how much work they're doing until you imagine the whole thing without them, right? And Bob Weir was one of those people. So he joined the Grateful Dead as basically a kid. He was a teenager who met Jerry Garcia in a Palo Alto music shop because Jerry Garcia was teaching music lessons. Bob Weir was 16 years old. Jerry Garcia was 22. Bob Weir was 16 years old when he met Jerry Garcia. And Bob Weir will tell you, he wasn't good. He had to learn on stage how to be good at playing rhythm guitar. He was a kid. He went back to high school and then left high school and said, fuck it, I'm going to be in the band. And he ended up helping create one of the most important live bands in American history. And Bob Weir never was like the flashiest person on stage. I don't think anybody was the flashiest person on stage in the Grateful Dead. Maybe you could make the argument, maybe John Mayer now in Dead and Company, but he never tried to be. He was just him. He was just being, right? Jerry Garcia, you could make the argument that he was reaching for something cosmic, something otherworldly, but Bob Weir was the guy that held everything together. Rhythm, harmony, storytelling, the structure of the song. He played a guitar in a way that kind of broke all the rules because he didn't fill space. He respected the space. There was a jazz musician in there. And that is kind of who he was to the band. Bob Weir sang songs about America, the messy ones, the political ones, the hopeful ones, the ones about friendship, the ones about betrayal, joy, and the idea that things can fall apart, but they can still mean something. You have Jackstraw, you have Cassidy, you have Sugar Magnolia, you have Estimated Profit. These weren't just like jam songs. They were philosophies that you could dance to. So much of their music was philosophies you could dance to. And here's the thing that I think a lot of people don't remember is that Bob Weir, he survived pretty much everyone. The band is legendary for this cast of characters and people that played with them, like Pigpen, Keith, Brent, Jerry Garcia, Phil Lesh. The Grateful Dead, as a band, ended in 1995 with Jerry Garcia's death. And he could have walked away at that point and just lived off the legacy of the Grateful Dead. Because at the time of Jerry Garcia's passing, man, it was a boom for the Grateful Dead and real money was coming in. They employed about 100 people. They put all of their money back into the shows. These men, for most of their lives until the late 80s, were not rich. All of a sudden, money was coming in. But he kept the music alive. He didn't let it fade away. Didn't let it become some kind of museum exhibit, some kind of archive. He had Rat Dog. He had Further and Further Festival, and then Dead and Company. And a lot of people shit on Dead and Company at first. And Bob Weir was like, no, this is about curiosity. This is about listening. That's a direct quote. This is about curiosity. This is about listening. And I believe by the time of Bob Weir's death, he proved that right. I mean, you can shit on the Sphere. You can shit on a lot of things, but man, I was there. It meant something. It meant something. It was more than just consumerism. Bob Weir showed that aging in rock music, it doesn't have to be sad. If you ever followed Bob Weir on his social media, he wasn't a big like, hey, I'm posting on social media, but there was a lot of people that would film him. He took it seriously. He was doing yoga. He was always stretching. He was always playing. He was always hiking. And he was one of those guys that would hike barefoot. One of those weirdos. You're like, this guy's hiking the mountains barefoot. He took it seriously. He took his health seriously. But also with that beard, he became a prophet himself. But he made it that the endeavor could still be creative, that it could still convert people like me, and that the most important person in the band isn't always the one taking the solo. It's the one making sure that the song never completely fell apart. And that was him. And I think the legacy of Bob Weir is not going to be just about the music. It's going to be in those bootlegs. It's going to be in those parking lots. It's going to be in me. It's going to be in you. It's going to be the people that are listening right now that might be laughing at this. And eventually you're going to be able to hear this music. You might even turn it on today and go, this isn't my thing. But someday, I'm telling you, one of it's going to hit you in your heart. And there's this idea that music belongs to the people who show up for it. And Bob Weir, so he didn't just help build the band, he helped build a culture. And he followed that to the very end, his very end, to the very end. So fare thee well to Bob Weir. And I think a lot of people in the Grateful Dead community are wondering what happens now. Yeah, you have Mickey Hart. He was not in the original Grateful. I mean, he was in the Grateful Dead, but he came, Bill Kreutzmann was the original drummer. He wasn't playing with Dead and Company over the last couple of years, but Mickey Hart was, and they're still alive. And they have so many amazing musicians, including John Mayer. And I don't know. People are like, what's going to happen? It's done, right? It's done. Who knows? I think people thought it was done when Jerry died. I think people thought it was done when Phil passed. I think people have thought it was done so many times, but it really is about the music. And it really is about the songs. And it's never going to be the same. But when you lose anybody in your life, it's never going to be the same. So you find something new. And the important building block is those songs. And so I don't think it's over. It's just going to be different. Just like how it was different when my mom passed. Just like it was different. So thanks for allowing me to speak about this, something that obviously I'm very passionate about. And I will miss seeing him live. And yeah. Okay, enough of me blubbering. Let's get to what to watch this week and then Sophie. But if you want to skip right to Sophie, like I always say, there's a timestamp for that. Okay, on Bravo, we had a big week. Potomac and Married to Medicine was on Sunday night, but I didn't get to watch those yet because of the Golden Globe. So I'll watch that in the morning. Tonight, we have a new episode of Below Deck Med. We are nearing the end of the season. I'm finally getting into it. On Tuesday, we have the first reunion episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm very excited to get the reunion going on that. On Wednesday, we have a new episode of Southern Charm. On Thursday, we have a new episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And we have a new episode of The Valley Persian Style, which I really love those first two episodes. So cannot wait to watch a third. I think am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something on Bravo, but I believe that is the Bravo schedule for this week. Now, what about elsewhere? In movie theaters, we have the sequel to 28 Years Later. It picks up right where that movie left off. I believe that movie is streaming on Netflix right now. It's 28 years later The Bone Temple. So that comes out in theaters this Friday. Also, this Friday in theaters, it is the 25th anniversary of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. So they are re-releasing that in movie theaters. On Netflix this Friday, we have The Rip. It's a new film with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It's a sequel to Good Will Hunting. No, it's not. They play cops. They play cops. Also on Netflix, we have a film called How to Lose a Popularity Contest, which seems to be like a teen comedy. I love teen comedies. Today on Netflix, we have One Last Adventure, the Stranger Things, Making of Stranger Things documentary. I watched about half of it. I really, really dug it. So that is on Netflix. If you want a little bit more Stranger Things, go to Netflix today. Now, tonight, we also had the season premiere of Industry on HBO Max, so I'll have to check that out tomorrow as well. And then we have the second season on Amazon Prime of The Night Manager. The Night Manager, I never got to see the first season, but I hear people really loved it. So if you're a Night Manager freak, you got the second season. Also tonight, we had the premiere episode of Fear Factor, House of Fear, with Johnny Knoxville replacing Joe Rogan. Now on January 13th, a lot of people are excited about this. We have the new season of Tell Me Lies dropping on Hulu and Disney+. Stassi Schroeder has the companion podcast that you can stream right now. Now, this is kind of weird. This is a little weird. I'm like, is this right? We have this. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm reading something off my phone. On National Geographic, we have Will Smith in a new docuseries called Pole to Pole. Might have thought of a better title than that, but he tours the world. That's what he does. He tours the world. Will Smith touring the world on Nat Geo. This Friday on Apple TV Plus, we have the second season of Hijack with Idris Elba. That's another one. I have not seen the first season. If you're a big Hijack fan, let me know if I should be checking that out. Now, we were going to have on Peacock the new season of Love Island All-Stars, but there was fires where they are shooting, so they are having to postpone. They're having to postpone the season, so I will let you know, and I have more to talk about that probably on Tuesday's episode. This is wild. On Paramount Plus, there is a new Star Trek series called Starfleet Academy that premieres on the 18th. But get this, it stars Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter is an amazing actor. I never thought she would be in the Star Trek universe. And Paul Giamatti plays like an alien. Paul Giamatti and Holly Hunter in a yeah. I used to be a Trekkie when I was a kid. I don't think that shocks anybody, but I'm excited about that. Also on Peacock, we have a new series called Ponies. Stars Haley Lou Richardson from White Lotus and Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. And it's set in the 70s in Moscow and women recruited by the CIA. I don't know. I'm willing to check that out. Now on Netflix, we have an Agatha Christie murder mystery. Agatha Christie's Seven Dials premieres on Friday. My dad loves Agatha Christie. I got to tell my dad about this. He will love this. So that's a little bit of an overview, folks, but I'm sure there is so much more. So forgive me, I'm not feeling my best right now, but we will get to Sophie Ross. But remember, I released so much this weekend. I would appreciate if you went and checked it out. I'm pretty proud of that work. But here she is, a very silly episode as always, Sophie Ross.